Hey everybody, my name is Gary Bravo. Welcome back to the channel. As far back as I can remember, music has always played a big part of my life. I remember when I was young, I would pretend to perform all the songs in the car, like whenever I was with my parents, but I wouldn't actually sing them. I would just mouth the words. And I remember my dad asking me one time, he said, "Why don't you actually sing? You know all the words. Why not? Why don't you sing? I like to hear you sing. You can just sing." And I told him that I didn't know what my voice would sound like when I was older, so I was just borrowing whoever's voice in the meantime until I could grow up and I could use my own. I still have a really big passion for consuming and creating music. It's just now it's a little bit harder for me to chase that because all the responsibility just lands on me. So I end up just having to manage my own time when it comes to trying to learn or create my own music. And I have to schedule all my time out, and then I have to rank it against all my other interests. And if I'm being honest, after a long day at work, I tend to lean in a little bit more towards getting killed by 14-year-olds in Apex rather than practicing my guitar. Consuming music for me is a really big part of my personality. I really enjoy finding new artists, finding new genres, finding new tracks. It's just something that I hold as a very important part of my personality. I feel like every situation in life can be enhanced by the correct sound or the correct song. And I also like to exercise a lot. Music plays a really big part in keeping your tempo up. There's just really something to be said about the right song coming on at the right time that helps you get through a tough workout. I mean, we've all been there, your song comes on and then you just all of a sudden you're in the zone. It's like night and day. The music industry stinks, but we all kind of knew that. Entertainment as a product has always been used to take advantage of more talented people and then just wring them dry for all the profit that they're worth. And a really big topic recently in the music industry has been streaming services. The way music is produced and consumed is in the middle of a very big shift right now. And when we all come out on the other end, I have a feeling that the music industry is going to be totally changed and maybe even unrecognizable from what we experience now on a daily basis. Streaming services have kind of leveled the playing field as far as consuming music goes. For a small fee, you can basically have access to any song ever from all time. And this whole process of streaming music came out of a necessity put forth by the recording industries because of an increase in piracy and file sharing in the late 80s and 90s. The record companies all got together and they put the government on blast for not protecting their intellectual property, and then big government stepped in and put the crackdown on file sharing altogether. I even remember when I was a kid, a buddy of mine used to jailbreak our iPhones, or we would go to him to find special Pirate Bay links whenever we wanted to see a movie that we couldn't afford to go see. He actually got a cease and desist letter in the mail, and we were 13 years old. It was the scariest day of our fucking life. So, as a young kid, experiencing that level of threat of legal action, it kind of sits with you a lot. I don't really dabble in downloading anything anymore. That is illegally to say, obviously, but there is really something to be said about potential legal ramification that straightens you right out. There was a lot of PR at the time trying to flip the perspective back towards the artist. They wanted you to feel bad for the artist for downloading their music. But at the end of the day, really, it was just that record companies could no longer fully exploit artists, so they had to put a stop to that as fast as possible. But that brings us here. Now, music streaming services are the top dog. But that creates its own list of issues, particularly when it comes to ratings and payment. A single stream is not worth the same as, let's say, a purchase of a track. In fact, it's not even close. It takes an estimated 150 streams to equal one purchased track. Except that actually isn't true. Because even if you did listen to a track 150 times, now with the landscape of streaming services, the artist gets even less now than they would have previously. Let me explain. Streaming services pay artists by the number of times their songs are streamed on that service. These rates are set by the platform and negotiated by the artist or the label to an extent. This allows the platform to host the library. We're starting off on a relatively understandable path, but this is where things start to get stinky. Every streaming service just so happens to pay artists different amounts. Because there is no industry standard as to how much a single stream is worth, each platform gets to set their own stream price, and that is what they pay artists flat out. The top 4 streaming services pay out like this, with Spotify coming in at the bottom. To be completely fair, there are streaming services that pay even less than Spotify, But the reason I have beef with them specifically is they have the largest user base by far of any other service. They have a reported 32% of the market in 2021, and the next closest service, being Apple Music, only has 16%. This means Spotify is leveraging their user base of double their next competition as a way to underpay artists. And I have a problem with this. That's a big shocker there. Gary has something to complain about. Big fucking shocker. But this is far from the only problem I have with Spotify. On the top of my list of problems with Spotify, their CEO is a scumbag bitch. He was willing to pay Joe Rogan almost $200 million to sign his podcast exclusively to Spotify, but he fights tooth and nail against artists when it comes to paying them even like a fraction of a penny more per stream. He invested $100 million of his own money into an AI defense company, which is the stupidest name for a company that literally makes shit to kill people. Like, what the fuck? This company claims to want to use AI to protect liberal democracies, which is like, first of all, cringe. Second, it'll just be used to analyze data to better explode people in foreign countries. Yeah, defense my fucking ass, dude. And on top of all this, his stupid ass is literally just a profiteer off of stolen labor. All of my least favorite things on earth in one person, I swear. He's like if those chalky, stupid candies, those Necco wafers, he's like if those were just a shitty little guy. So after a combination of all these things began to weigh on me, I ran across a video by Cody Johnston, the Somewhere News guy, where he goes in depth about the whole streaming landscape and convinced me to finally leave Spotify behind. My new streaming service of choice is Apple Music. I set out to make my change and immediately got a rude awakening as to why Spotify has such a bigger user base than even the next closest of its competition. Breaking down all of the issues I have with Apple Music leaves me with a bullet list of 4 main points: functionality, user experience, audio quality, and discoverability. The first thing I noticed with my switch was the functionality was totally different. There were tools that I was used to using in Spotify that were just non-functional in Apple Music. Spotify has a heart function and a dislike function. The dislike function will skip a song for you if you hit it while the song is playing, and then add that data to your algorithm to suggest fewer songs like that in the future. And the heart function does the opposite. It likes that song, it suggests to your algorithm to play more songs in a similar vein, and it even adds that song to a playlist in your library of liked songs that you can go back and look at later. It's like kind of like a quick save function. It's super helpful. I really like this functionality. And Apple Music has similar buttons, but they work just way worse. First, both of the like and dislike buttons are hidden behind the 3-dot settings menu. And when you push them, they don't work. The dislike button won't skip the song that you've already told the app that you don't like. And the like button just takes the song and does nothing to save it for you. The dedicated liked songs playlist in Spotify is a really great feature because, like I said, it works like a quick save. If you're in the middle of listening to random music, you just hit that heart and you can come back to it later to add to your personal playlist. It saves it for you in a way that makes it easier for you to find again. And not having this seemingly simple function in Apple Music was just an immediate loss for me. I'm just now learning through research that you can set up a playlist like this in Apple Music, but the fact that it isn't set up by default it just seems like a really big misstep. The next thing I noticed is a lack of discoverability. I found myself manually searching for songs more often than ever before. The whole experience felt so foreign to me, I had a hard time listening to music at all. Over the time that I had Apple Music, I spent less time listening to music over a 30-day period. It feels like for the last 5 years. Struggling this hard to find new songs and new artists and genres, it pushed me back onto the radio. I started listening to the fucking radio for the first time in what feels like a decade. Who even listens to the fucking radio? And then on top of that, the audio quality was bad. Frustratingly bad. I mainly listen to music with my AirPods Pro, which you think would work well because of my Apple phone and my Apple headphones and my Apple streaming service. But for some reason, at the beginning of practically 80% of the songs I listened to over this month, there was lag. I felt like 80% of the songs I listened to, and that's a conservative estimate, I honestly feel like it could have been every single song by the frequency of how much it happened. There was a 2 to 3 second delay at the beginning of each song that made it sound like it was playing underwater. After the 3 seconds, it would sharpen back up, but it was astonishing for me to experience this type of lag when my entire audio setup is all under the same environment. It literally leaves me at a loss for words. It seems like a small issue, and I don't even really like to complain about stuff like this, just because it seems so trivial. But honestly, it's literally called Apple Music, and it can't even fucking play music? What are we doing here? Like, literally, just play the song. How hard could it be to play the song? It's literally Apple phone, Apple app, Apple headphones. I had no idea why there was lag in this perfect ecosystem, this allegedly perfect ecosystem. It drove me crazy. And before I continue, I know most of what I'm complaining about is anecdotal. I know that, seriously. But you honestly cannot look me in the eyes and tell me that having lag on a completely Apple-based audio setup makes any sense at all. Don't bullshit me. That makes no sense. I'm serious. Don't. And this isn't even mentioning the overall user experience. This switch was a total shock to my system. The tabs at the bottom are Listen Now, Browse, Search, Library, and fucking Radio. Yes, Radio is one of the tabs at the bottom of Apple Music. I'm not fucking kidding you. The Listen Now and Browse tabs are practically identical. I tried to use these tabs from time to time to find music, to no avail. The Listen Now tab creates categories for music you've listened to and puts them in stupid labels like alternative and Get Motivated, and it'll just toss a bunch of arbitrary albums in there hoping to pitch you a vibe. And then you make your way over to Search tab, and the first thing you see is Browse categories. Isn't that what the Browse tab is for? Why would you have two browse sections in an app that clearly has no idea how to structure one correctly? And at the end, you get to the Library tab and it's just a total mess. You're left with a listed version of your options instead of some sort of visual representation. The only visuals on this tab are the individual tracks that you've added to your playlists, and they're all just clumped in at the bottom of your screen if you slide down. You have to click on an option to view your playlists, which I believe is the main feature of a library tab. Like, if you think music library, you think playlists. Why wouldn't it just open default to your playlists? It doesn't make sense. To have the listed option, it just creates even more delay in the music experience. It's like this app is working against itself at every single step. It can't get out of its own way. I don't understand why it's designed to be purposely complicated. In Spotify, when you go to your library tab, it's listed with the liked songs. That playlist that stores the songs that you actually like, that's at the top. Next is your pinned playlists that you put there on top because you want them there. And then after that, it lists your playlists in the order that you listened to them most recently. I just find it more appealing to sort playlists this way, because odds are, if I was listening to that playlist before and I shut the app, when I open the app again, I'm probably going to want to keep listening to that playlist. My point is, if I'm in the mood for something different, if I'm in the mood for new music or a new playlist, I can go dig for it. The point I'm trying to make is, listing alphabetically versus listing by frequency like Spotify does, it just seems like a misstep, and honestly seems like something that should be default. It just makes sense. And this is the tone of this review overall. It's the amount of effort that goes in to operate Apple Music. If you're going to provide meaningful competition in this space, you have to make it appealing for the consumer. It was just a really bad experience. I love listening to music, and having Apple Music made me hate it. Some other honorable mentions are the podcast app. Spotify has all types of audio media on there, and needing to use a separate app to listen to podcasts is stupid. I think that that's a bad decision. And the queue feature, the play next feature in Apple Music just straight up sucks. When you pick songs to play in the queue, the play next option, it literally queues them backwards. Like, that's the whole point of a queue. It means a line. When you put a song in line, it should be in line. And it doesn't function that way. It puts them backwards from the way that you select them. It doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't think this is something that's hard to figure out, but I guess that's just the way they do things over there at Apple. Tim Apple, I am now speaking directly to you. If you're listening to this message, here is what you need to fix in order to create the best streaming service possible and catapult Apple Music up far and beyond Spotify. Pay attention. Fix the playlists. Fix the algorithm. Fix the like and dislike buttons. Those suck. Fix the artist blocking options. You can't block Chris Brown. If you're listening to Chris Brown in 2022, you suck. Fix the audio lag. Fix the podcasts. Fix the browse tab. Why the fuck do you have two browse options? It's fucking stupid. Fix the swipe queue feature. And once that's fixed, you're golden, baby. Call me and I'll try it again. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to listen responsibly. And drop a like. Maybe subscribe if you want. Appreciate it. I'll see you next time.